After the failure of the November 1830 uprising, thousands of Poles left the country to live a life in exile. They represented the cultural elite, the artistic elite, the literary elite. What was the effect on Poland, on ideas, on culture, of having the major cultural and political influences be forged outside the lands of Poland? In this episode of Poland Daily History, we look at these issues in greater detail and assess the effect of this great emigration. Welcome to Poland Daily History with me, Nicholas Richardson. Today I'm in the studio with Dominik Szczęsny-Kostonecki, a historian and a PhD scholar, and we're going to discuss the Great Emigration. Dominik, thank you for joining us.
What Czartoryski's diplomacy could achieve was that after, let's say, 10 years after that fatal ball, the papacy produced a document in which they would call for, the Russian authorities to respect the rights of the Polish Catholics. So that was something. They would, so that is Rome, that is Vatican, the Vatican. But there were also actions taken in Istanbul, so in Turkey, to instigate, military operations. We don't know to what extent, of course, this inspiration was due to Czartoryski and his people, but no, we can see the result in the 50s. That is the Crimean War, in which, of course, Great Britain and France is involved, and we've got the famous charge of Balaclava.
Or charge of the Light Brigade, yes.
Yeah, the Light Brigade.
A classic example of miscommunication.
Miscommunication, exactly. Someone had blundered.
Exactly, and indeed, at massive cost to the Light Brigade. Yes,
and they would also inspire, for example, the peoples of the Caucasus, Czartoryski's agents, to start or to support fights against Russia, because Russia was the main enemy.
Am I right? I thought Mickiewicz also raised some troops in Turkey.
Yeah.
And what happened?
Unfortunately, he died in 1855. Some say that he was poisoned by the Russian intelligence. I mean, we don't have strict evidence. But earlier on in the 40s, when you've got this revolutionary wave across Europe, that is called People's Spring or Spring of the Nations.
Yes, 1848. I think 1848 is a year when a lot of revolutions
took place. Yeah, in France, in Prussia, in Austria, in Italy, of course, in Poland. And there was this Legion Mickiewicz's Legion created in Italy to help fight the Austrians mostly.
And I think I rightly say that not far from Istanbul in Turkey, there is a town with a Polish name, Adampol.
Adampol.
I think still has a sort of small Polish community.
Adampol, or it's also called in the other name in Turkish, it's Polonezköy, which means a Polish village.
Polonezköy, right.
Yeah. And that, of course, it was named after Adam Jerzy, not the main hero of our today's meeting.
Of course, yes. And in other parts of Europe, was his diplomacy very successful? I mean, I think he had. He set up a small embassy in England at one point?
Yes, he did. But again, the British government was of course, there was a number of friends in the British Parliament. Lord Dudley Stewart, having his famous speeches, calling, the government not to forget Poland. and so on and so on. But generally, the British government was very pragmatic, and so that had limited success.
Yes.
I mean, these actions.
I can
But
imagine.
at least, I mean, the fact that, for example, Chopin was welcomed in England.
Yes, indeed.
That was, I think, that was his last. That was his last foreign journey. I mean, foreign from Paris. That was to Great Britain with Madame Sterling. That he had. Of course, it was prepared by this. I mean, the diplomacy that, of course, helped, and to organize this concerts.
And
Because it's got one more thing that when culture and politics mingle, so there is no clear demarcation between them. So in a sense, I mean, of course you can theoretically say that the music is music.
Of course.
That's Chopin.
Exactly.
He's simply a great composer and a great pianist. But of course his name was linked because Chopin had a concrete, opinions, and everybody knew that he's an exile. He's a Polish exile. So wherever Chopin was received, I mean, it meant that there is some support for the Polish case.
yes, and then of course we get to around about. I mean, this sort of period of this intense activity, sort of obviously ends with the death of Czartoryski in 1861.
This year I call the symbolic end of the Great Emmigration, because one thing is very close to the year 1863, in which you've got the second largest
Uprising.
Uprising of the 18th century. That is to say, the January uprising, which marks a turning point in Polish history. But why do we mention? We have to explain that. Why do we mention the year 1861? Because that's when Czartoryski passes away, and his great
Rival.
Joachim Lelevel, within a small, difference of time, and it's like.
But did anybody sort of pick up the baton when Czartoryski died? I mean, what about people like Branitzky? It was a slightly later period, but was it again a similar idea?
The Czartoryski's sons, not generally his family, but they didn't have that. Let's say. That sort of. I mean, they were the charismatic leaders as much as Czartoryski was.